So, I'll talk about these. Now, I can't really say how good these were. Mostly the Chihuahuas watch them because I was in the kitchen cooking for, well, I think it's 11 o'clock now, and since about 7 I was in the kitchen. Before then I was actually chopping up tomatoes and taking the seeds out, so I saw this. And I'd watched 2 of the discs yesterday of the 3. And well, I wouldn't miss this. Anyway, I started out, after this, I started out with this one this morning, and then I went to the kitchen. So, James thinks that, and I think so too, that, well, I loved Nicolas Cage in Raising Arizona, and then everything pretty much from there, because I think James came up with this theory that the producers and stuff, I think, more heard Nicolas Cage, but James thinks saw Nicolas Cage and thought Jimmy Stewart. And so since, I mean, doesn't everyone love Jimmy Stewart? I do. And so they thought, well, we're going to play Nicolas Cage that way. But he's not Jimmy Stewart. He sounds similar to Jimmy Stewart. So for somebody like me who watches TV from the kitchen, which I can't see TV at all from my kitchen, I can only hear it. That works out just fine for me. But this movie wasn't even worth listening to, honestly. So bad. It was a police kind of drama, and anyway. Now this one was the next one. So this was the last one that I watched this morning, and I didn't watch it at all. I did see the main characters a few times. So the people that are on the cover and on the back, I saw them a few times while going in and out, taking the compost out to the yard, whatever. And not worth watching, as far as I could tell. But again, I wasn't in the room, so can't really say. Now, this one though, so excellent. I know a lot of people really love the Breaking Bad series, and I loved it too. But I better drink this. I'm getting all distracted. This is, I forgot to bring out the container. Just a minute. I'll show you the container size. Well, I'll show it to you next time I do a video. But it's like big container of organic kale and arugula. And the thing is those greens hold they look fresh even when they're not. So it took one whole container of greens to juice about maybe that much of kale and arugula. Like, so not very much, just a little tiny shot glass of kale and arugula in this. This is mostly dandelion with a little bit, well, quite a bit for me, less for James. He can't take it, but he has been drinking it lately, the ginger. So his has more dandelion than mine does, but less ginger. Anyway, this is straight dandelion, so you can see, you can kind of guess how much kale and arugula we added just because it's a prettier color, right? The dandelion juice is not a pretty color, but I'll put this in the fridge for James for when he wants it, or myself. Yeah. Oh, and the dandelion's very strong this time of year. It's better to get it earlier. But drinkable. It's not coming back up. Anyway, so I was going to talk about Walter White, who is an awesome character on Breaking Bad. And I can't remember the name of the actor right now. but everybody, if you say Walter White, I'm sure everybody in the world would know who you're talking about. And I first noticed him, as I'm sure everyone did, in Malcolm in the Middle. And in Malcolm in the Middle, you're watching the show for a long time, and here this handsome husband, and he seems very, very normal, and you're watching the show and you're thinking, why is he with this crazy woman? What made him fall for the crazy woman? And then you keep watching the show, and eventually you see he is the crazy one. And she's actually, out of the two, she's the normal one. And why she's so maybe agitated, is that too strong a word, all the time? It seems that she's sort of grumpy, right? And high energy. So why she is this way is because she's married to him, and you get to see that after a while, and that just makes the show even more awesome, because you hadn't noticed it until that point, right? They hadn't let you in on it. And but the thing is he's able to, in that show, he's able to show both sides, right? He's able to play what you thought was a normal, low-key kind of person, and then you see what he really is like, and so he's able to play that character too. And then you see him in Breaking Bad, and you're like, wow. Because he's having to do a similar sort of thing in Breaking Bad, where he's playing, the science teacher and father, husband, and then he's playing this other character, right? Because he has this other side, which is, it's really him. And anyway, so it's pretty awesome, and he makes that show awesome, as do many of the other characters. And I actually prefer this series to Breaking Bad. And but I don't know that I would have preferred watching this first. So I'm glad that they came out with Breaking Bad first. I watched that. And then watching this, I'm like, oh, thank goodness I get to see, the retired police detective, who is just frighteningly good at that role. And they've written him so well. And you get to see a lot of characters that, Saul Goodman, that you loved in Breaking Bad, and you did not want that series to end, right? So it doesn't, because it goes back before that series, and that's where this one starts off, and it'll be presumably ending off where Breaking Bad started, but we'll see. And I don't know how many of the lives from Breaking Bad they're going to be able to spin out a new series on, going before or after, I don't know. But awesome. So, if you haven't watched this series yet, this is season 4, yep. And so you have a little bit of catching up to do. And I would recommend, if you haven't started watching this yet, and you haven't watched Breaking Bad, well, watch Breaking Bad first and then watch this. This is how they were put out, and it's how they should be watched, I think. Even though I do think that this series is better, just personally, anyway. But it could be that you have all the, would you call it a backstory? Because the Breaking Bad happens later. From Breaking Bad, anyway. So, yeah. I guess I'm gonna put this away, and, well, James Juice can sit out here. It's cool. It's nice. It's a lovely day. The birds are singing. I don't know if you can hear it from your end of the camera, but I think it's going to be a nice one. So I'm pretty happy. And I'm cooking up 3 pots of soupish sort of things. Well, one of them's sort of a minestrone kind of ish thing. But I put some marjoram in, as well as basil. It'll be good. And then I tore apart one of these. It was the salt shaker from this. I have juice on there. may as well wipe it on my robe because it has tomato juice all over it anyway, so it may as well have dandelion kale juice. But I had one of these with the salt in it, and I was very frustrated having to grind the salt with it because I don't put salt on the... A lot of people will just put it on their food after, like when the food's ready. And I mostly what I use salt for is soups, and so I don't do that. I'll cook it with the soup. So I ripped open one of these containers, which took a little bit of effort, and I didn't cut myself while doing that. I cut myself, it was foolish. I could have cut myself while doing that. That was a foolish thing to do, really, ripping apart that container. But anyway, I don't know what I was going to say. I'm making a blonde chili because I used some orange Roma tomatoes and stuff like that, and orange and yellow, these sweet little organic peppers. They're delightful. And white onion instead. I could have used just a regular yellow onion, but I did not have. So that one's a blonde chili, and it'll be yum. And I used a white bean instead of kidney beans or pintos. And then the other pot that I'm making, so I'm making these all in different slow cooker pots, is a black tiger tomato dish with... Oh yeah, that one's the minestrone-ish soup. And then the other one is the, and that one I put some barley and lentils, orange lentils in, I think. Anyway, but I could have used a different color lentil. I don't know. I just went with that. Anyway, so the other one is a pasta sauce, and that one I used urad beans. I've never put urad beans in a pasta sauce before, so we'll see what it's like. And it's just going to be a pretty run-of-the-mill tomatoey based pasta sauce with red Romas. And I used red onions for that one, and red of those sweet little organic peppers that are, I don't know, about that big around, and they're sort of about the same size as a jalapeno, but a different shape. So anyway, it's going to be awesome. And then James will have his choice between 3 different dishes tonight. We'll see which one he wants to eat. And the rest I'll just can with I'll get the canner cooking up. Can the whatever we don't eat. And it'll be good. Because the house is still cool. It's about 17.5 degrees in there. So I could heat it up quite a bit more before it's uncomfortable. So I figure I may as well cook today and can. So even though it looks like it's going to be a beautiful day, anyway, I don't think the house is going to warm up that much. So we'll see.